Well, all right, everybody. We are here with a special live broadcast of Tuned In and Tuned Up. Or I believe it's Tuned Up and Tuned In. I am backwards with my own words. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kill the music and start the interview. We are here today with Miss Brittany Sword.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let everyone know a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a singer-songwriter in Oskaloosa. I play all over Iowa and neighboring states. I've got some new stuff coming out pretty soon and have some things on Spotify. I don't know. What else you want to know?
Let's see. How long you been performing?
Forever. I mean, since I was a kid. But as a solo artist, it's been May of 2019, I believe. Yeah.
2019.
So
that's still fresh out the box.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially last year really didn't happen. So
the year that shall not be named.
Right.
So you say solo artist. You had a former group, or was it?
Yeah. So my husband and I used to play together. We played like kind of folk music. So I played keys and he played guitar, and we used like a cajon, which is like a box drum. So we did a lot of that kind of thing and played live. And we also have a song out as well on Spotify. It was The Stress Vine was our group. And he wasn't able to continue on because he suffers from migraines. So he was like, well, you keep going. And I was like, all right. So that's kind of how Brittany Sword came to be. But
and you switched from the keys to the strings.
I did. Yeah. So now I play guitar.
Did you play much prior to that?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
So that was like, so keys was like my main instrument, and then I played some guitar as well, and Corey and I would like kind of rotate instruments, so it was just kind of like, hey, well, you play this while I play that, okay, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, so I primarily play guitar now. I haven't really touched the keys in about a year, I believe, so I probably need to go back to it, but...
Just knock the dust off, you'll be all right.
Right.
Yeah, it's always fun to be able to play musical chairs, especially within a group. And I think the audience appreciate it, especially if they get to see it like in the middle of a set or maybe so many songs. If they're not paying attention visually, but just listening or dancing and turn around and look back at the stage and people are in different spots.
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute, were they playing the drums before? Now they're playing a guitar. What's going on? What is going on?
Yeah, it's always good to put on a good live show. Are you from the Oski area?
I grew up in Ottumwa. I've lived here in Oski for about 8 years now. Yeah.
So were you an Indian or a bulldog?
Oh, I was actually homeschooled.
Oh, okay.
So none of the above.
Neutral territory.
Yeah, no, I did some extra stuff like through the Ottumwa High School. So technically, I guess I was a bulldog, but
we won't tell nobody.
Right. It's out now.
Yeah. Well, I'm not native to these areas, so I have no brand loyalty.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Basically California.
Oh, gotcha. Nice. We were just talking about California, Tiny Fest and all that.
Yes. And the Oskaloosa verse strikes again. That's what I call this place, because you never know who you run into that knows whoever that knows whoever that knows.
It is crazy. It is like really crazy. Like people talk about that, like, it's some kind of Twilight Zone or something. And I'm like, yeah, I'm starting to experience that.
Like, oh, this person, they're like 3,000 miles away. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yep. Talked to them yesterday. Like, how? But yeah, so the Tiny Fest.
Yeah, so Tiny Fest. So they had Renee McLaughlin. She's a mutual friend of ours. So
yes.
So we found that out. That was pretty cool. But yeah, so she had Tiny Fest Midwest, and I played that last year. And now she has California. So she goes out there to California and plays, has her event there. And it's like a 3-day long event. So they have like school buses they've converted and, tiny houses on wheels and all that good stuff. But yeah, so I'm going to go out there and help her out with that event and play a couple days. And yeah, I've never been to California, so I'm pretty excited.
Ooh, you're in for a treat.
Yeah.
Well, depending on where you go, you can pretty much find whatever you want.
So, yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah, people talk about the Midwest or in Iowa when it's like oh, don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. And it's like, or instead of living in a bipolar weather state, California, if you want mountains and snow, go here. If you want sand dunes and beach, go here. If you want, Bay Area fog and beach, go here.
Just drive. You don't have to sit here and wait for it.
You want forest and trees, drive here, go here. And so, you can pretty much get what you want and move around a bit and experience it all.
That's awesome.
Or live in Iowa and get it all in one day.
Yeah, that works too.
So, let's see I know you're excited to go to California, but any concerns about going?
Yeah, actually a little bit. So I've never flown with instruments before, and I've heard, the horror stories of the airline that shall not be named, they totally demolished my guitar or whatever. And I'm like, I just have the one acoustic and the one electric. So if those go south, I would be heartbroken. They're my babies.
I lost an Italian saxophone some years back when we were in high school, going back and forth to Canada.
Oh, man.
And it just never showed up.
Really?
And it just disappeared, just vanished. And then a couple other people lost instruments, but someone lost a sousaphone. I'm like, that's a pretty large instrument to just lose.
Right.
And so fortunately I haven't had to fly with my sousaphone, but I've flown plenty with my bass and my saxophones. And I narrowed it down to, that's how I ended up mainly playing alto around here. It was just easier to travel with.
Oh, gotcha. More compact?
Yeah. And the tenor case, I had one that still, it used to fit in the overhead compartments. I know they started shrinking spaces down and stuff, but it used to fit up there. But then they started saying, "Oh, you have to check it." I'm like, "No, no. I will mail it to where I need to go before I let you guys check it, because I've seen what you do while I'm sitting in the plane looking out the window."
They're just chucking it in there. It says fragile on the side. It doesn't matter.
It's like, oh, it hurts my heart. Don't do that.
Yeah, so that's my biggest fear. I'm stoked to go, but I'm just like, dang. If there was just a guitar there waiting for me, that would be ideal.
That's always the best. And that will probably be easier to arrange than you would think.
Yeah. So there are a couple, actually there was one guy, and I can't remember his name right now, but we haven't been introduced yet, who's out there at the Tiny Fest. And he has a studio in his bus. And I'm just like, how does that work? Because you're thinking okay, studio, and you need some space. You got to move around and all that stuff. But his whole thing is in a bus. So I'm like, I'm really curious to see how that's going to go and how he has it laid out.
You'll be surprised what you can do in a converted van or a box truck or old school buses.
Yeah.
I was asked to help someone last year before I started working here. I just came back from helping clear out some timber up in northern Minnesota and whatnots, and the guy had a spot in Florida as well, and his neighbor or someone that he knew, I can't remember if they passed on or if they had retired, but there was a bunch of radio and broadcasting equipment, and that was his thing, and he was wanting to buy it and convert what he could and put it into a truck or a van and have a mobile radio and recording situation. So I was like, it's possible. And I was showing him the software he may need to do it. And, he's not into the telecommunication world. So I was like, okay, how do we explain this so that he can actually do it and not have to go spend 20 hours studying something.
Right, yeah.
Before you push the power button. And so I've seen quite a bit. Some years back, someone had their mobile I'll just call it a bus, but it was more like an extended cargo van. Mm-hmm. And everything you needed was compacted in there. If you can acoustically treat an area and be somewhere relatively quiet, you can get away with a lot.
Yeah, that is true.
You can get away with a lot.
Yep.
It's not treating the area that can get you in trouble, because being out in the middle of nowhere where not a sound is made, if the room or the area isn't acoustically, if it's not naturally good with the acoustics, then you have to treat it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then,
No, I know. Yeah, no, I'm learning that now. I'm not really, I'm just now getting into like recording. I kind of had my foot in it a little bit, but it's kind of one of those things that you can't just like dabble in it. Like you got to dive in and like really understand what you're doing. And so I've got these demos I'm working on, and, I'm like, I've got good equipment. I don't know what, but it's like, it's so much more than just good equipment. Like you have to know how to use your DAW and how to use, all the stuff. So it's been a fun process, getting more into the weeds with it, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a good phrase to use, because there's quick start guides. Some DAWs are built with the idea of, these are not sound engineers, so let's make it as easy as possible. But I think you lose a lot of fine-tuning abilities. But then again, by the time you get to the I want to fine-tune, you're probably going to choose another DAW.
I know, that's where I'm at right now. I'm like, oh, so the DAW, like digital audio workstation. So that's like where all of us musicians track in. And so like I had one system and I know it really well. And now I'm like, oh, but it's out of date and I need a new system. And now I'm looking at Logic and I'm like, it's different, but intuitive, and also has a price tag on it. And I need a new computer. I'm like, the list, it never ends. It never ends.
Yeah, it's a constant battle. I'm rebuilding my studio, and I just learned years ago, I would prefer to stay mobile. Even though I had like buildings with permanent setups and people would come in, and I spent like years, like everyone just come in and record and create the creation station. We even used to have like lunchtime jams, like people that work in different spots. Hey, I got lunch. Come in and jam, or come in and drop some lyrics or something, or this is what whoever else has been working on that's an open project, contribute to it. So it was a permanent spot, but everything in there, at the drop of a dime, I can box up and move on location somewhere else.
That's awesome.
And so keeping it mobile is a big plus. Now, using a DAW that's comfortable for being mobile versus I have every piece of equipment in the world hooked up and I'm turning buttons all day.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, yeah, you want a different station for that, but I'm rebuilding now, and I was at the cross between, permanent setup or mobile. So I went mobile again, but there's a lot of new stuff out there.
Yeah.
And it can be costly because I have to buy another computer. I'm Frankensteining things from like the last 13, 14 years.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm like, I don't know how many times I've wiped my computer.
It's an easy, it can be an easy grand and a half just for hardware. Oh, actually it can be like $2,000 is not out of the price range for a new computer for audio recording to have the power you need. And then another $1,000 or $2,000 for software.
Yeah, it's nuts. And then like on top of that, if you have to hire musicians for your tracks, it's a huge deal. Like I didn't realize it makes sense that these big artists are dropping like $50K on an album. Half of it's for partying, but
the entourage and the facade.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm like, if I had $50K.
So yeah, I would spend it on plugins.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing, when you have a good DAW and you get good plugins, you can get away with a lot. From built-in drummers, built-in guitarists, built-in bass players. Like, if you can't have the people,
right,
and if you don't play those physical instruments, they've come a long way with really good live sampling of excellent instruments. So that's one way to go, but they cost. It
you
never
can't
ends.
You can't really dodge that.
So there's no substitution. Well, they used to say there's no substitution for a live musician. It was like, well, yes, there is. And it's like, okay, granted, that person isn't live, but a live person played those samples.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and you can tell a difference with those plugins. Like if it was a real drummer that they recorded an actual drum, and you're like, okay, that sounds not so cheesy,
Oh my gosh, that's cheesy MIDI. And in the early years, growing up and hearing I don't know, things on the Casio keyboards and all
Yeah.
that stuff. It's like
The onboarded sounds.
it's so
You're like,
cheesy.
I'm gonna have to use guitar pedals to change this.
I didn't know what bugged me more, hearing the cheesy drums or the fake like saxophone sounds on trumpet sounds on the keyboard. And as a horn player, I was like,
Yeah.
I do not want to hear that. I can't. We can't use that at all. Like, we'll just like get.
I don't know. That's some stiff competition for you right there.
It's like, oh.
Like the Rugrats sound, you know?
Yeah. Wah, wah, wah.
Right.
But the marimbas, I guess, the xylophones, marimbas, they instilled drums and most of the stuff. They kind of came out okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that, but a lot of the other instruments, it's like, oh, this is horrible. Strings used to be really, really bad. Too.
Yeah. They've improved a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Those live samples.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, real people.
Oh man. So you've committed to a DAW yet? Or are you still?
I'm gonna go with Logic. Yeah. So I was for a while like on the fence about it, but I've watched like tons of tutorials and I've looked at all these other DAWs and I'm just like, I think that's the way I'm gonna go.
Yeah, we have it here.
Awesome.
I actually have a student who's been asking me to learn how to mix, and I'm like, well, okay, we'll schedule some time to do that. But which DAW do you want to use, or do you want to learn using a physical board with physical sliders,
Yeah.
and then work your way over to the digital stuff, because the digital is just a representation of the physical. And so different methods of learning. I personally don't like continually paying for something that I bought.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm a Adobe Audition fan way back before Adobe bought it, and it was like Cool Edit Pro. And it's an excellent program, and DJs and radio stations, they were using it for years, like before like hardcore, I want to record my album type people got their hands on it. But when Adobe got their hands on it, and it was great and awesome, but once everything switched to the Creative Cloud and they went to the subscription service, I'm like, boo, you know.
Yeah,
I'll keep my version that's still on a physical disc. You know, like I bought it.
Yeah.
And I don't have to keep paying every year.
Is Logic that way? Is it subscription?
Yes.
Oh man,
Pro
so many are
Tools,
going
Logic,
that way.
Pro Tools, Logic, I think.
It's just like a rental society these days.
Yeah. And it's like, you get the latest updates. Like I might not need the latest update.
Right.
And it might not be compatible with what I got. You know, so,
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that I pay for it. I don't want to have to keep paying for it.
Yeah,
or
no kidding.
If you're not hooked up to the internet, you can't use it, even if you pay for it. So,
Yeah. See, I have Reason right now, and I don't know if you know much about Reason.
Head, yeah.
Yeah. So it's the 8 version. So it's like, you know, pretty old now, but I can use it offline, you know, and all that. So that's nice, but
that was a very strong a node plug-in type, like with the graphic.
Like
it
looks like exactly like you can actually like turn the system around and like you can plug in. Yeah, exactly. It looks like an actual like interface, you know, like you have all your analog stuff. And like I like to work with analog because like I want physical faders and stuff so I can just use my ears and listen, you know, and like, okay, I'll cut this sound out and I'm not like mixing with my eyes, you know what I mean? And and I've got really familiar with using Reason and you know, moving my little dots around for the, you know, cut the K here, you know.
Somewhat, a lot of people, they don't like it because of that. And it's like, well, it's kind of like programming. Like there's node programming with certain things when you're routing, and it's that same draw here to here, plug this here. And some people, it's like, I just want to type it in or move the thing or push the button, and that's it.
It's faster. I mean, I'll give them that. Like it's faster. Like you just hit button and go. Like I do prefer that, because if you're in a creative mode, you just want to like go and get it out, you know, rather than like, oh, now I got to search for this thing. And then it just totally disrupts your train of thought. And you're like, well, song's gone.
I'll rethink of that riff again later.
Yeah. You always think you will, but no. Record everything, kids. Record everything.
Truer words have not been spoken.
Right.
That was the lesson when we had the old studio and people would come in. It's like, all right, so, all right, I'll try to write this. That like, skip the writing, just say it. you will never write as fast as your brain can think. The closest thing you can get is just blurt it out.
Yeah.
So push record, just blurt it out.
Yep.
You can always replay and then take what you like or change what you want. But writing's, it's good, but you can't hear the inflection in the tone. You can't, the pause, the breaks, how you phrase it.
Right.
Something can be written out. I don't know, like if you listen to like Twister or Eminem or Busta Rhymes or something like that, to where
right.
like, okay,
you could never.
Yeah, and if you got your hands on, I'll watch the video with the lyrics, and it's like, okay, you can read those lyrics, but you're not reading them in the stanza in the form, so it doesn't come out the same. But always record, because you never know what idea it's gonna come and go just like that.
Exactly.
Just like that. Well,
yeah, and it's a little bit of a different process too, like writing something down. I feel like that's a little bit more like reflective. And if you don't have like a melody in your head, you're like, okay, I want to say these words, but I don't know how it's going to fit in a song yet. Like I feel like a different creative space, maybe like more of a poetic type mindset, maybe. But then like you're saying, like, okay, you don't know where the breaks are. Like if you have that, like you have a rhythm in your head, or, how you want it to flow out, like you might have the melody, but you don't have the words yet.
Yeah.
Or what pace you want to go at, but you just don't know, what words you want to say. So hit record, man.
So I guess this is a good time to segue into creative structure, your creative, well, you just touched a little bit on part of your creative process. So when you are getting ready to create your masterpiece, what do you, I'll ask this way, what do you prefer to do? And then I'll ask what actually happens.
They are different. Prefer is always that the song just comes out, like guitar, the melody, everything is just there always, and that's not how it always happens. Most of the time I might start off with like, it depends. Like I'll start off with a guitar riff or something that I really like, and that will inspire the song. Or I might start off with lyrics and think, I really like where this is going, and then just kind of chase that rabbit a little bit. But so like Thinking of You is my single that's out on Spotify and basically anywhere that you can download and stream music. But that song I wrote like in one day, and it did take most of the day. It was one of those songs that just I had to think about it, and but I started with a guitar riff, and then the melody kind of came, and then the words came. So it was kind of like a one piece at a time kind of thing. But Down, which is the one I'm going to play for you today, it's the demo I'm working on now. And that one came out all at once. So it was one of those, like I had the chords and then I just was rolling with the words and writing it as I was going, and hit record. It was just there. So
the instant masterpiece.
Yeah. Don't know about the masterpiece part.
Like, you just wheel it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no one, I'd say this, like I've learned no one can make everybody happy in life, period.
Right.
Some people might be happy with it. Other people might not be their flavor or their style of music. Doesn't make it good or bad. But starting something with the intent of, this is gonna be best. This will knock them off their feet. And it's and then if it doesn't happen and people get discouraged, or they're like, nobody liked that song, or nobody liked my music, and it's like, well, I'm sure someone did. You just haven't tapped into them, or they haven't gotten a chance to let you know yet. Not your audience, or there's several things that go into that. Like a lot of times I just write songs that I like, and then I road test them. So I'll take them out and play them at shows, and then I'm like, I see the response from people. I'm like, okay, well, maybe this song is good for an album, but it's not good for a live show, so it might be too slow, or maybe it just doesn't hit people right, you know what I mean? Or maybe I need to try to change something a little bit. But most of the time, like if I'm happy with it, I'm keeping it. But if I wrote it and I'm like, I don't know, like it's something from left field, like I am not a country artist, and I don't really listen to country. I don't know, like it's fine, but I know I'm in Iowa. I can't say that's blasphemy. That's right. We won't tell nobody.
You're right. it's out now.
I ain't gonna tell nobody else.
Yeah, like but yeah, I've written country songs and I'm like, I'm never going to play these. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't know where it comes from. And I know I have some influence from country stuff because my parents, you know, they grew up listening to that stuff too. So I know it's in there, but it's not something that I wouldn't identify myself like as a country artist, though I could probably do that. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean?
Not to paint you in a box or anything, but it took about 30 seconds or less when I first heard and, you know, saw the video. It's like, I could see you being very highly marketable and as a country singer, songwriter, artist, like easily.
Right. Yeah.
That's, you know, what you want or not, but like from a marketing, you know, well, the label wants to push this, you know, direction. I could see that being one of the first things because you may classify yourself as anything else but country, but it's one of those, do you want to be highly marketable or let the music speak for itself?
Yeah.
And then, you know.
And like, that's just the thing. Like for me, I'm like the artistry side of me is just too strong to like go a direction that I don't want to go. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I can appreciate country music for what it is. And like, I do a couple Maren Morris songs, you know, but to me, it sounds a little bit more pop than she does country in some songs. I think she's kind of one of those bounces in between kind of artists.
That line's been blurred a long time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like before Shania Twain, really. But so like it's one of those deals that like if it comes down to me, you know, I could do this or that. I'm always going to pick what's going to be true for my artistry as a whole rather than what's popular at the time or what people are like, you know, what they're going to like better. You know, if they happen to like the stuff that I do, that's awesome. If not, well, it wasn't for you, you know.
Give it to your neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I think about it.
Just pass it to your neighbors.
Yeah.
So I really can't wait to hear some of the other projects. I got busted at the shop the other day stuttering and and Ashley's like, what? You can't find words? But when I heard it, I get so mad sometimes because there's a lot of talent. And ever since I moved here, you know, it's always like I find myself either attracting the talented people or just being in the right spot to just be like, hey, you should meet such and such, or oh my gosh, if you're into this, you know, go look over here. You know, you'll find a group of people that's been trying to do this for forever. And so once again, you know, I finally come out of my shell and get public doing stuff, and I had a couple of upsetting disappointments with certain people. They were hungry to do stuff. We get stuff lined up, and then they just kind of evaporate, and so it's like, not again. Yeah,
and that's hard. It is. I don't want to say it, but I'm like, musicians, we can kind of be flaky. There is a bit of a stereotype there that does ring true at times.
Yeah. Well, and then it gets frustrating because when your hunger is permanent, like I'm permanently hungry to create and do stuff. And so when I heard you play the song, and I'm just like, what? What? You've been here how long? Like you've been around. Right. That's why I get mad. It's like, wait. You've been around here for how long? And I'm just now finding out about, or, you know, we're just now crossing paths. And it's like, well, part of it is I've left and came back a lot, or when I am here, I'm just secluded and, you know, and then the few people that can pull me out to do stuff, it's like, okay, we're cool. It's you know, back on the grind and making music. But when you're actively trying to find people and then you think you do, and then they evaporate.
And the frustrating thing is like they're usually really talented. Yes. Like they're usually really amazing people and amazing musicians. And then I don't know if it's like, because I felt insecure before, you know, where it's like, well, maybe you don't want to put it out there because then you're in the spotlight and it can be uncomfortable. But yeah, who knows?
You can't get inside the mind of certain people.
True.
Because you'll get lost in the abyss. You'll never
Right.
come out. But yeah, I was stuttering, trying to find the the right response. And yeah, when I got called out for it, and it's like, okay, let me use my grown people words.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you want to do an interview, and are you interested in creating?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yes and yes. It's like, okay, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to say you're not the evaporating type.
No, I'm here to stay for
Yeah.
sure. I've wanted it too long, you know, and I've had a lot of people like in my circles that didn't come through, you know, in certain things. So it was like, well, it's up to me, and you know, I can't blame anything on anybody else. So if I'm gonna fail at it, then it's my own fault, you know.
Do it on my own terms.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, if I succeed, then that's also, you know, pat to myself on my back, you know what I mean? So
Not giving up.
no.
Not taking the naysayers. I know there's a lot of people who get discouraged or scale back what they really want to do because they got a couple of no's, or like you said, do a show and have your debut of that song or that album and say, yeah, you know, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Right.
And it's like, wow, that was lukewarm. It's
Yeah.
like, nah, at least lukewarm is labeled warm.
Oh.
And so it's like, you know, certain people, they're done.
Yeah.
And it's like, they didn't boo you.
No.
Well, I just didn't get a standing ovation. It's like, and neither did Diana Ross all the time.
Yeah,
You know, it's
right.
like-
Yeah.
Like
Christina Aguilera butched the Pledge of Allegiance or something. I can't remember what it was. She sang something and it was like butchered it. I mean, in front of millions of people. I'm like, okay, if Christina Aguilera can fall flat on her face, like I can have something that comes out in bombs, you know, and be okay. But yeah, it's a scary thing because it's like you're putting everything you have into, you know, this work of art that you're like, oh, this is my baby, and you feel like, oh, it's amazing, and I did all this work and it took me months, and you send it out there and you get 5 likes, you know.
It's one of those,
Yeah.
like, well, nobody said nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
nothing.
like, this took me forever, and it's my heart. And you're like pouring out all this emotion into it, and then it's just like you said, it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, maybe sometimes it's bad timing, sometimes it's just not the crowd.
Yeah.
You
A
can't-
lot of times it's marketing that musicians fall short. It's like if nobody knows you,
Yes.
then yeah, your stuff isn't going to get heard, you know. That's what I'm learning now. So I feel like oh, hey, we have a visitor.
It's the keyboard extraordinaire.
Thank you. Had Max stop by and wave.
That's right. That's right. If you speak,
Cool guy.
it shall show.
Yeah, exactly. We were just talking about him too. Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick interlude, and well, do we need to pause? We can keep going.
You know, I'm good to keep going. Yeah. So I'll just play a song that I have just been working on. It's called Down. I have a video, like I do like videos like on Instagram and stuff like that. So I believe it is on there. But it is not 100% recorded yet. I have most of my parts down, but so right now it's in demo mode, but it will be coming out later this year. So anyway, this is called Down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have Brittany Sword. This is KWPU 90.5, and you're listening to Tuned Up and Tuned In.
You wanna know what the truth is? I'm terrified to let you in. Maybe I don't wanna bruise my pride. I beat myself up too much inside. If there's a light at the end, we'll make it. I'm scared as hell, but I'm gonna say it. I'm jumping in with you. I wanna tell the truth and let you see. But the darkness keep you from loving me. Down. into the dark, now all I see is red. I've given you so many reasons to walk away. Now here we are, up in your room, telling each other how much it means to say just what we're feeling. Don't wanna tell the truth, because you'll see how much you don't need me. Down, don't wanna let you down. Down, don't wanna let you down. You could be the reason I came. You could be the reason I stay. No. Mm-mm.
Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen. That was Miss Brittany Sword with her up-and-coming new feature song. You guys, you don't know what you're missing. You got to come check her out live and get the full impact and the full power behind her soulful music. So, speaking of live, when is the next engagements people can track you down and show some support and love for you?
Yeah. So I'm actually doing a live stream this Sunday, the 18th, from 3 to 5. So that's on my Facebook page. So if you go to Brittany Sword Music, you should find me there on Facebook, Instagram, really wherever. And then my next, in public live performance is at 111 Public House in Knoxville. And that's Thursday, the 22nd from 6 to 8. And then after that, I'm at California Townie Fest. So if anyone wants to drive out or fly out to California in May,
I may be there.
Hey, that would be awesome. We'd have to hook up.
That's good. Yeah, that would be one of those other weird, a couple thousand miles away.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll realize we probably know like 20 other people scattered all over the states. So yeah, well, I hope to have you back on here. Hope to create plenty of music with you, because like I said, I think it's safe to say you're going to be one of the follow throughs.
Yes, definitely.
Just too much creative energy and creative juices are going around.
I can't sit still.
Yeah. I call it my musical ADD.
Yep.
That's why I usually have
That's about right.
5 different instruments laying around. Just pick one up and, start creating and then put it down and move to the next, or get a nice spinning chair and just go in a circle.
Yep. Perfect.
So, great having you today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. This was fun.
Yeah. We'll have to do it again. Maybe next time I could throw a little saxophone and bass on.
There you go.
So we're gonna have plenty of music, and the mic's open anytime you have time to come in and
Awesome.
grace the airways with your voice.
I will take you up on that.
All righty. Thank you guys for listening. This is Tuned Up and Tuned In live from the studio, KWPU 90.5. I'm your host, Randy Mack, and today's guest has been Miss Brittany Sword. And we shall continue with your regularly scheduled program.